Greetings and salutations, all you beautiful individuals. Welcome to another epi of League Unlocked. Eric and Mark here with you, beauties, for a week 3 installment of your global power rankings. And it's a bit of a strange one because, well, honestly, almost half the teams on this list, at least about 8 of them, didn't play a single game this week. Obviously, EU was off as they transitioned to playoffs. C9 and 100 Thieves were off, and some of the top dogs in the LPL with the insane LPL scheduling makes for half these teams having a bye.
I don't want to get too crazy with it. I don't want to go overboard, but I think this has to be the worst scheduling start to the year that we have ever had in the history of League of Legends. Understanding it's, a new era of the game, especially with the way the competitive scheduling was going to be focused around an additional international event. I think the way that it has been anticipated and implemented in multiple major regions across the world has been very poor, not just from a fan and viewer and, consumer perspective, but also I think from the competitive standpoint for these players and organizations. It's unfortunate. That's just the landscape that we're working with here for the global power rankings.
I think we're accustomed to these major regions at least having similar structures and formats because they have for basically their whole existence. Little differences here, sure, best of 3, best of 1, blah, blah, blah. But now the formats are so different, and even when you're scheduling to playoffs in each region can be weeks apart. We're getting there in the LEC and LTA, and LPL and LCK, you're going, well, what even is playoffs? Is the play-in of playoffs? It's all confusing, but we did have still some turnaround, some movement on these lists. An NA squad gets back on. Again, we have 4 LTA teams as Team Liquid just sneaks their way onto the list. They did enough against Shopify, and save for a few throws against FlyQuest, probably could have won that tiebreaker too.
I think this is one of those ones that I'm calling the investment pick, throwing Team Liquid into this type of territory of the top 20. At this point, given what we have seen from them as you laid out the past week against Shopify Rebellion, the close tiebreaker series against FlyQuest, I've seen enough from this Team Liquid that I think that they can absolutely get to the levels of last year and continue upon that improvement that we have seen from them. Is that going to come without its ups and downs? Is that going to come without challenges, threats from the rest of the LTA, whether that's the LTA North and to be seen the LTA South? I think that we are going to see that type of challenge, that type of turbulence for this Team Liquid team, whether that forges them into an even better version than last year. That's what I'm waiting on.
It's bad news bears and ridicule for any LTA North team that does drop a series to one of the LTA South. I feel like it's inevitable. It's going to happen. It's just a matter of who it is. The biggest overperformers on this list, absolutely. That award goes to Nongshim RedForce. That 6th seed heading into these play-in playoffs. They've played the most series now out of anybody in the LCK, and fresh off a 3-0 against KT Rolster, you best believe we had a sighting of World Finals MVP Kingin on the Rift.
Oh, you don't see him too often, unfortunately, I think, for the organizations and for Kingin himself. But yes, World's MVP Kingin steps onto the stage and dishes out 3 games of strong performances for this Nongshim team. Slide in some good creative shot calling from Lehens in the bottom lane, and this Nongshim team finds a way to sink the expected winners in KT Rolster to continue their journey through the LCK Cup.
And, even though they had a rough record in this first round, I think Nongshim throughout this entire 2025 season has been overperforming expectations. Obviously, expectations were pretty low for the squad, but even the guys outside of Lehens and King and Jiwoo has been performing super well alongside Lehens, and Fisher, a guy who we thought was a dud after his time on EDG, has really shown up in the LCK.
Yeah, it's been the exciting thing about this team is as much as you want to, kind of look down your checklist and go, yeah, okay, World's MVP, Kingin showed up. Oh, we got some wacky Lehens business. Check mark on that one. everybody else still also delivered in this series, as you laid out. Jiwoo in the bottom lane with Lehens, cashing in on some of that craziness, on some of that vision from Lehens and what he was able to think and cook up. Fisher in the mid lane, rocking through and being that stable option for this team, following up on a lot of these things. And even Gideon in the jungle, I think, did a fantastic job throughout this series. Really, for Nongshim, overwhelmingly positive on the day for them in such an unexpected upset against KT Rolster, who again is floundering to levels that it just is mind-boggling even for the KT diehards.
It's business as usual, a few spots ahead of them. Talon, just Talon, not PSG, we got to keep saying it, climbs up one spot. They move to 5-0. They did drop their first game against GAM Esports, but still won the best of 3, so still a perfect 5-0 for them. And against GAM, you saw them win a game that was an absolute bloodbath, Vietnamese League of Legends style, and then one that was much more controlled, almost LCK style, but they showed both sides of it against GAM.
I'm not sure. I'm 99% sure on this one. I'm pretty sure it's the first time we got an appearance of Mel up there on the professional stage, coming through from the Talon boys.
I thought it was a bug that she was in there.
I wish it was a bug that she is in there. Gonna be a terror, unfortunately, I'm assuming. But yes, an interesting little one to see there, and Talon picking it up, flexing some of the new champions through the Fearless Draft.
We've only gotten now 2 series out of Doumbé and the boys on NIP, but it's a 2-0 start, and in 7 games, again, small sample size, they've gotten 100% of the Barons in their games. They've gotten first blood in every single one of their games, and they've got the highest goal differential at 15 of all major region teams.
I'm buying. I'm in on this one because not only, of course, my bias for my boy, my guy, Mr. Super Carry, Doumbé, and what he has been doing in the mid lane. It's not just about his effect on the team as far as raw performance in that mid lane position. I think adding him to this team, his experience, his everything else that he's bringing to the table as an individual has helped this team in so many aspects that you couldn't predict from the outside looking in, and what exactly is going to be the chemistry and the picture here. I'm feeling really good, very early, very small sample size, but very positive about NIP.
They're one of now a long list of LPL teams that we're just waiting for the next round. Okay, they wrap up their first split opener against RNG. Sure, they've already secured top 2 at the very least in this group. Current form, expect them to go 3-0 and top this group, but we need to see them against better competition. But yeah, again, it's not just Doumbé, it's the old OMG guys. Aki and Shanji have been playing super well. Leave has thrived in this new role, and PP God as well. It's been all 5 members have hit the ground running and had solid synergy. A lot of that because Doumbé is that ultimate teammate. Another team climbing up a few spots. Just still below that Cloud9 G2 edge of this board. Both those teams obviously didn't play, but FlyQuest, they secure, you can call a sloppy series, sloppy but convincing against Ignitas, and then they win the tiebreaker against Team Liquid. Enough that you're feeling better about FlyQuest. I'll call it a bounce back week.
I think maybe I'm a little bit overboard here with the opium copium, because I think it's a little bit more than just a bounce back week for this FlyQuest team. I'll take the bounce back for sure, but I think the signs that you are seeing already with this team, the growth, what will be different compared to last year's iteration? How do you separate? How do you improve? I'm looking at Masu down in the bottom lane. We talked about this before. I think it is very clear that he is a player, an individual that is taking another step forward in what is capable with his mechanics, but also with his confidence, with the mental aspect of being in that very split-second moment and making these decisions and performances, all these type of things. I think that experience, that exposure at the international level to see players to the likes of Gumayushi and everything else that he's seen internationally has improved him and has worked. And this is one of the things that I think is going to take FlyQuest even further than their heights that they reached last year.
Yeah, and we saw that huge jump last year after MSI when FlyQuest got absolutely bodied, and then you're seeing another jump from what we got out of his Worlds performance that we were already hyping him up, and it's given me signs of a name, we hate to mention on this show because of the what if, but Mr. Danny in the bot lane, because number one, on the Rift, the guy is an absolute demon, doesn't shy away from anything, and is one of the more aggressive players domestically that we've seen in the LTA. But he's also so soft-spoken, humble, and quiet when you see him off the Rift that it's even crazier that they're so crazy on the Rift. Both he and Danny kind of had that.
It's so perfect because it's one of these dreams if you're an organization, because not only young, talented, driven, focused, and motivated young individual in your team, but a guy who's extremely likable, not just from a chemistry and who you're putting in on the team and figuring certain things out with a young player. And again, young players in gaming and not a lot of social experience, all these type of things can play into it. And that's why Masu is so great, because he gives you all of these things and all this confidence, and it continues to improve for this FlyQuest team. What a likable guy. What a likable team. Good to see FlyQuest bounce back like that this week in the LTA.
FlyQuest gets a bounce back, and I'm just hoping, praying that 100 Thieves are not the team to drop a game to the LTA South as we head to those conference playoffs. By the way, how about EU gets a week off to head to their playoffs? LTA North teams get the same amount of time off, and they have to do a 16-hour flight down to Brazil in that time.
We got to work on this one, guys. That one's a little crazy. I will say, at the very least, our LTA boys, when they're getting down to Brazil, they're being treated very well, seeing some good accommodations, I'm saying. And I've also seen some early pictures of some Brazilian steak coming through. So I know the boys are eating good and feeling good down there, but very excited about this type of one. Crazy that it's like this, so different between the LTA and the LEC for so long, so similar in how they operate, very different now.
And again, you've heard players on multiple teams talk about, yes, this isn't your typical international event where you're going against best teams in the world, but it's still that similar practice and exposure for teams to have to be out of their comfort zone, not scrimming where they normally scrim, not playing in the regular arena. It's all going to be positive in the long run for this year, even if it's not that elite level of competition that you are going to be getting. The big head-to-head here, obviously, we had the Weibo JDG banger on the weekend. JDG, enough for them to hold strong. We knocked down Weibo a peg, but that was about as close a series as you could possibly have. And for the most part, yeah, there was a bit of Fiesta, but pretty high caliber games.
I think there is no shortage of Fiesta in there, but the problem for the Fiesta is there was also a lot of high quality gaming going on in that series between Weibo and JDG. Hard to really find the final picture, the Picasso picture that comes out jumbled from this mess of 5 games between the two. But at the end of the day, for me, I'm coming away from this one, number one, talking about Scout and the clutch factor that he still brings to this JDG team and that type of effect for them. And Hayes down in the bottom lane. It is getting wacky for him in comparison to how things probably were operating in the LCK, but he continues to thrive and show his talent, his skill set that made him a very hyped up potential young player coming out of the LCK.
I'm going to say it. So far early in the year, Pace has been better than Ruler.
Yeah, I'll take it. I'll take that one. I think the real question, of course, is going to be, is that what continues weeks, months from now as Gen G has more time to sort things out, have these conversations, figure out who's the real voice, who, which ones we're calling, where are resources going, what type of situations do we prefer, all sorts of things. But yes, out of the get-go, right now, the performance has clearly been in favor of a guy like Paze, and his role and his importance is just as important as it would be with a squad like Gen G in the LCK.
And Weibo side of things, Tien is very much in that regular season form. And when I say regular season form, I mean the best form that Tien looks usually throughout a year. He had the great Viego performance that almost carried Weibo to that Game 5 win. Sandwiched in between them now is Fnatic, who obviously didn't play this week, but just a quick minute to glaze on how good they were in their first 9 games. They are second only to BLG in team KDA and goal differential per minute. I know BLG has put up some ludicrous numbers, so to be behind only them after 9 games is a testament to how dominant Fnatic was.
Now, BLG still needs to play a lot more games.
Exactly. Their numbers are kind of skewed because they played like 6 games.
It's a wild world that we're dealing with across the major regions as far as who's playing what. But as far as the games have gone for Fnatic, they have been wonderful. And you're right. We got to be crazy not to go too far with the glazing for this squad. But I'm telling you, players like Razork and Humanoid, guys that we do praise a fair amount, but certainly criticize when there are things wrong. And there have been wrong things with this Fnatic team over the course of the last couple of years under these two's watch on this team. Got to give them their roses when things are going right. They have been phenomenal. This split, of course, the bottom lane that's come in as Upset and Mickey have been a great addition, great change of flavor for this team, for the organization. And Oscarant has been improved in that top side is the other things to check in with this team. But I think, of course, got to give the guys that take the biggest brunt of the criticism of the front when things are wrong in Razork and Humanoid for stepping up and delivering for Fnatic this split.
Last team on this board, you got Anyone's Legend, who get bumped down a few, and we'll get to why they were really bumped down, because they went to 3-0, they won their group, they beat World Elite, they had a kind of troll for fun game 3 against them, but that's inevitable when you're dominating everybody.
It can happen. A small, I'll call it a small, gap in the attention being paid. Let's just put it that way for the squad. But Anyone's Legend being up here feels good for the LPL. This is one of the teams I think a lot of people identified and clued in on and wanting to see them continue to improve, to keep climbing up the ladder of the LPL and show that you're one of these teams that is going to be under the consideration of that great to elite territory. Can you rise up? And how many of these established teams can you start knocking down and replacing, and how people view the LPL? Anyone's Legend already accomplishing some of that so far this year.
And here are the reasons why Anyone's Legend is not in that top 5 now. Gen G were left with the lasting impression of that T1 series that feels a little bad, even though it was close, and you're still waiting for games for them. Obviously, you had the full week off, but the real reason is Hanwha Life bumping into this top 5, and they, similar to some of the LPL matches, you could say sloppy dominance against DRX, but much like T1, it was kind of like they got out to a huge lead, trolled a little bit, then were able to close things out. But Zeus is absolutely dominating in the side lane in pretty much all their matches, and it felt like this matchup against DRX, Zeka came online.
It's taken a little bit, but I'm pretty sure the Hanwha Life that everybody dreamed about, that teams feared and shaking in their boots about this offseason, it's arrived. It's here. It's finally in shape and in form in the LCK. You're seeing it, and having a performance like Zeka did just this past series, on top of all the signs that we are seeing and the check marks that we're writing for this Hanwha Life team. I'm ready. I cannot wait for this showdown we've got cooking up against T1. Both of them feeling like an unstoppable force right now in the LCK, the way that they have risen to the top level of form in the region. This Hanwha Life team, Zeka performing the way that we just got in this last little bit. Viper's consistency and threat down in the bottom lane, combined with Zeus in the top side with a healthy sprinkling of some intelligent pathing from Peanut in the jungle. This is a Hanwha Life team that is incredibly lethal, and the only thing that might be more lethal than them is Smash down in the bottom lane for T1, and the role that he has played, and not just what his individual skill is bringing, but the kind of spark that we have been seeing between him and Kyria and Owner in the jungle. This is a T1 team that is firing on all cylinders.
Yeah, like, so scary that I was ready to put them 2, but that just feels disrespectful to D plus Kia, who have really had no blemishes so far, didn't play on the week. But yeah, your opening playoff matchup is this T1 Hanwha Life matchup. That's 3-4 on our global power rankings, which means, yes, Nongshim is going to finish better than one of these teams this split.
Oh my goodness, and buckle up. Yeah, it is elimination. Someone's gone. Someone's done for the springs, the winter, whatever the heck split we want to call it.
Yeah.
Number 1 split, whatever it is. This is going to be wild. Both teams are playing phenomenal. I want to quickly, of course, again, give another mention to Doran, the other side of the Zeus Doran swap here. He has been a good solid fit for this T1 team, and I think some of that is, again, as the games go by, day by day, rounding more into form into the T1 organization, in with these other 4 members and the synergy that they have. very good fit for me. I can't wait for this showdown. You know the fireworks are going to be out for this.
Both squads rising, but it's the top two remaining the same. D Plus and BLG, neither of them played this week, so they stand tall in where they were. And listen, for BLG, January 25th is the last time they played a series. They're not playing again until Valentine's Day. That's 3 weeks off, and this isn't like there was a bye for playoffs that they're waiting for. They're in the heart of the regular season of the first split, and they have 3 weeks off. That scheduling is mind-blowing.
It's ridiculous. It's outrageous. It's unacceptable is the way that it has to be treated in the LPL. These are things that it's understandable that there's going to be some boo-boos and errors within our scheduling, changing things up and shifting things around. To have a premier team like BLG on the sidelines for as long as this is not acceptable from the fan perspective, from the competitive perspective, from a squad like BLG. They should be screaming and shouting, hey, this is not right that we're on the sidelines like this. We have to be playing these games, going through the motions, staying in a routine, all these type of things that can benefit us when you get to these tournaments. Just sitting at home for 3-4 weeks in a row is not going to be benefiting a professional organization in any type of way. Got to be looking at that one. The LCK gets a little bit more of a breathe room with it type of thing, but maybe not the best, but still got to give that shout out to D plus Kia and how well they have been this year to rise up to the very top of the LCK and give them their respects there. But man, oh man, it is so unright that we have BLG and with only one game. Now, again, proving that that's the level that they can play at, sure, but you need more of them to verify and more to check through. And as we keep going through and just keep them here at this one without seeing them until Valentine's Day is wild.
And at least that matchup is against the other 2-0 squad in their group in Thunder Talk Gaming. But yeah, 6 games that we've seen from BLG in what will span to be a month is absolutely ludicrous. We need to figure out. You got to be playing, I don't know, multiple series, make them best of 3s, whatever. This is obviously things that will be a work in progress for both the LPL and these other major regions as they continuously tinker with the format. But that is it today for League Unlock. Eric and Mark here with you, beauties. Thanks for hanging out. You know we will catch you